The ROV's lights cut through 3,000 feet of black Pacific water, illuminating a massive silhouette that shouldn't exist. The Japanese I-class submarine had vanished in 1944, with 94 souls aboard. For 80 years, the ocean kept its secrets, but when the cameras finally penetrated the pressure hull, what the exploration team discovered inside rewrote everything historians thought they knew about how this crew died. This wasn't combat. This was something far worse. 94 men, fathers, sons, brothers. When this submarine disappeared, their families received the standard notification. An honorable death in service to their nation. But the forensic evidence sealed inside this steel tomb tells a different story entirely. Not the instant death of torpedo impact, not the merciful unconsciousness of a depth charge's concussive force. What happened inside this submarine reveals the unspoken horror of submarine warfare. The difference between dying in combat and dying trapped in darkness, gasping for air that isn't there, while carbon dioxide levels rise and your mind begins to fail. For the families who spent 8 decades wondering, the answer they've finally received is the one they feared most. Their loved ones did not die quickly. For 80 years, this I-class cargo submarine existed only in wartime records. Last position unknown. Cause of loss speculative. The Japanese Imperial Navy recorded it as failed to return from patrol. Dozens of search expeditions had failed. And get this, of the 30 submarines that supported the Pearl Harbor attack, not a single one survived the conflict. The Lost 52 project deployed an autonomous underwater vehicle equipped with side-scan sonar and high-definition cameras, capable of operating at crushing depths where human divers cannot. When the sonar detected a massive anomaly 3,000 feet down, the team deployed their ROV Super Achilles. Here's where the story takes a turn. The submarine sat upright on the seafloor, eerily intact. The conning tower stood undamaged. The hull showed no torpedo holes, no depth charge craters, no signs of combat damage whatsoever. Most disturbing, the forward hatch was sealed from the inside. She had simply stopped. Without combat damage, without catastrophic structural failure, the question became unbearable. If the submarine wasn't destroyed, what killed the crew? The sealed hatch meant they were alive when the submarine descended to its final depth. They were conscious, aware, trapped. The ROV operator's voice on the recorded footage goes quiet when the cameras reveal the sealed hatch. They were locked in, he says. They knew. The real answers waited inside. Using a remotely operated fiber optic camera system no larger than a human fist, the team gained approval from Japanese war graves authorities to enter through a corroded ventilation shaft. What they found was remarkable. The battery compartment came first. Seawater had flooded it decades ago, but the team found something that made their blood run cold. Scratch marks. Not from corrosion, not from marine life, from fingernails. Someone had clawed at the watertight door separating the battery room from the crew quarters. The metal showed parallel grooves where human hands had desperately scraped, trying to force the door open. The camera moved forward into the control room. Skeletal remains sat at the dive plane station, hands still positioned on the controls. A second skeleton slumped near the depth gauge. The gauge needle pointed to 600 feet, twice the submarine's rated crush depth. Yet the hull held. Then the torpedo room, More remains, all at their stations. No bodies near the hatches. No evidence they'd even tried to escape. Personal effects scattered the compartment. Photographs fused to bulkheads. A prayer book. Rice bowls still arranged as if for a meal that never came. Bottom line, the crew hadn't died from flooding. But here's where it gets complicated. Analysis of the air composition inside revealed carbon dioxide levels exceeding 90,000 parts per million. Levels that would cause hallucinations, euphoria, and complete cognitive collapse. For context, normal atmospheric CO2 is around 400 parts per million. At 90,000, your brain simply stops functioning. One team member examining the footage noticed a skeleton's hand gripping a valve wheel so tightly that the bones had fused in that position. He was still trying to save them, the analyst said. Until the very end, he was trying. The team needed to understand the timeline. How long did these men suffer? What did they experience as the air turned toxic? Forensic atmospheric scientists used computational models to reconstruct air quality degradation inside the sealed submarine. They factored in crew size, 94 men, submarine internal volume, CO2 production rates, and temperature. The results were precise and horrifying. With the 94 men breathing in an enclosed space, carbon dioxide levels would reach dangerous concentrations within 2 hours. Symptoms would begin almost immediately: headaches and nausea. By hour 3, euphoria and confusion. By hour 4, erratic behavior and motor skill failure. By hour 5, unconsciousness. By hour 6, death. The real kicker is what the temperature gauge revealed. Found in the engine room, it read 112 degrees Fahrenheit. The needle had stopped there when the crew died. The submarine had been running its diesel engines before diving, and that heat, trapped inside with 94 panicking men, would have accelerated CO2 production and oxygen consumption. Japanese submarine designers paid almost no attention to creature comforts. No air conditioning, no flush toilets. After diesel engines ran for hours, the boat would submerge, but the built-up engine heat permeated the entire claustrophobic interior. The scratches on the battery room door, those came early, probably within the first hour, when 1 or 2 men realized what was happening and desperately tried to access emergency oxygen canisters. What makes this particularly devastating is the timeline itself. This wasn't a quick death. The crew had hours to contemplate their fate. The carbon dioxide would have made them confused, irrational. Some may have felt euphoric, a cruel trick of chemistry. Others would have experienced panic so severe they literally clawed steel with bare hands. The forensic team's report includes a single line that families found unbearable. Based on atmospheric modeling, the crew remained partially conscious for an estimated 4 to 6 hours after the submarine's descent beyond crush depth, experiencing progressive hypercapnia and thermal stress before final unconsciousness. 4 to 6 hours of knowing you're going to die, feeling your mind slip away as the air turns to poison. One question remained. Why did the submarine dive so deep? The Achiu, official Japanese naval records, stated the submarine was lost to enemy action near a known convoy route, but the wreck showed no evidence of attack. The team accessed declassified Allied convoy records and cross-referenced them with Japanese submarine patrol orders. And get this, there was no enemy activity within 200 miles of the wreck site on the date of loss. No depth charges reported, no submarine contacts. So what actually happened? In a Japanese maintenance log recovered from a sister submarine, they found the answer. This submarine had been operating with a faulty depth gauge for 3 weeks before its final patrol. The gauge consistently read 200 feet shallower than actual depth. Maintenance crews had noted it. Repair was scheduled, but the submarine departed before repairs could be completed. The truth crystallizes into something almost unbearable. The crew thought they were diving to 200 feet, a safe depth. In reality, they descended to 400 feet. The pressure hull began to fail, not catastrophically, just enough to trigger minor leaks, strange sounds. They went deeper, following standard protocol, trying to reach a depth where the hull could stabilize. Instead, they trapped themselves beyond any hope of surfacing. And when they finally realized the error, when the captain understood that everything they believed about their depth was wrong, it was far too late. A faulty gauge, a delayed repair, 94 men dead because someone postponed maintenance for 3 weeks. This was not fate. This was not inevitable. Just human error and the terrible price it extracted. But here's the finding that left the entire investigation team in stunned silence. In the captain's quarters, the ROV discovered a logbook, sealed in a waterproof pouch, preserved against 8 decades of pressure and seawater. When Japanese naval archivists carefully extracted and translated the final entry, it contained 4 sentences written in an increasingly erratic hand. Depth gauge failure confirmed. We are far deeper than instruments show. Hull integrity failing. Air turning foul. I have ordered the crew to remain at stations. We will die as we served. The captain knew. In those final hours, he understood exactly what had killed his submarine. A faulty instrument, a maintenance delay, and he made his crew face death at their posts rather than die scrambling in panic. The story we were told for 80 years, that this submarine died in honorable combat, was wrong. This crew suffocated in darkness because someone delayed a repair, not heroes dying in battle. Men dying because of bureaucracy, because someone decided 3 weeks wouldn't matter. The wreck site is now designated a protected war grave. No salvage permitted. No disturbance allowed. The 94 men of this submarine rest where they died, 3,000 feet down, in a tomb that finally told their truth. The Pacific still holds 52 American submarines, 128 Japanese submarines, countless others from navies around the world. Each one a sealed vault containing evidence of final moments we can barely imagine. We honor these men by understanding how they died, not the sanitized version in official records. The real version, the terrifying version. The version where maintenance delays and faulty gauges created a slow-motion catastrophe that gave 94 men hours to understand they were already dead. Because somewhere in the deep Pacific, other crews are still down there. Their logbooks still sealed. Their final moments still unwitnessed. It makes you wonder what else is out there, hidden not by the ocean's depth, but by our reluctance to confront what these discoveries actually mean. How many more crews are waiting to be found? If this investigation moved you, please like and subscribe. Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. And tell us, what other maritime mysteries should we investigate next?